let's talk about the trade that went down earlier this week. The Orlando Magic made a pretty big swing. They trade for Desmond Bane of the Memphis Grizzlies, sending Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, 4 first-round draft picks, and 1 first-round pick swap. One of those draft picks is going to be either the pick that belongs to Washington or Phoenix in a couple of years. That's
most
the high
likely
value.
Phoenix because of the protections.
Yeah. Right. That's the high value draft pick for Memphis in acquiring them. Pretty big deal for Orlando. Let's start with the Magic perspective. Desmond Bane is an excellent player. He's a 40+% three-point shooter. He's a combo guard forward. He's basically what the doctor ordered for a Magic team that was great defensively, but anemic, especially from the three-point line offensively.
Starving. Don't they have the worst three-point percentage for like 3 years running?
Yeah. And this past year, I think it was like at close to a 10-year low. Like they were just awful from three-point range. Yeah. How much better does Desmond Bane make the Orlando Magic?
I think he answers so many of their questions that they've been having, right? So all the things you mentioned, first of all, he's got great leadership skills. We've seen that in Memphis. Offensively, not only can he shoot the three, he can play make, he can do a lot of things that offense was sort of missing with Ignition. He plays defense. That's exciting. And I think he just gives them more flexibility going forward. On the one hand, it's sort of like, oh, are you really paying 3 guys like stars? And what does that do? And we're kind of moving away from the 3-star model. And I think actually that's what Memphis was doing and kind of going to more of the 2-star model that we've seen in this NBA Finals, frankly. But for them, because their 2 stars have never quite been an exact perfect fit, and they want to see how these 3 guys play together. Look, if it's great, if he's the missing ingredient that makes the other 2 play, fit like a glove, they'll feel those salaries are worth it, and they'll keep everyone, and they'll go into increasing taxes. If it turns out that that's not really the winning combination, Desmond Bane gives you a bit of a failsafe. You could trade one of those other 2 guys, right? So I think that whether it's Franz, Pablo, I just think that he gives them a lot of flexibility going forward. And they're basically betting on themselves because, as you pointed out, the Phoenix pick, or what will likely be a Phoenix pick, is high value. For the rest of them, they are betting that they will be good enough, that will be somewhere between picking 20th and 30th. And they felt like they could give those up. All the frenzy of, oh my God, 4 picks. And one of those picks might be to just get off Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's salary. And so you have to kind of look at it that way. And players are worth to a franchise what they're worth to that franchise. If you ask a really high price for your house is for sale, and you ask a really high price, not everybody has to think it's worth that price. You just need one, right? You just need one buyer to think, yep, it's worth it to me. And I think because of Orlando's needs and how well Desmond Bane fills them, I think it is worth it to them. We saw the Pascal Siakam trade, and everyone said, oh, they gave up too much. And that, of course, has turned out not to be true. The Mikal Bridges trade, where everyone says, oh, they gave up too much. And that might, in fact, be true. And we'll just have to figure out what this is.
Yeah, I love this trade for Orlando. We've been talking for weeks now about how open the Eastern Conference is looking next season.
Absolutely.
Boston, whatever they do, it's going to put them back a step, right?
Yeah.
Jason Tatum is gone. Somebody from that top 6 or 7 is going to be gone. It might be multiple players from that top 6 or 7. The Celtics are going to fall out of the top 4. They're not going to be a championship contender next season. Cleveland, we don't know what's going to happen. Indiana's in the finals right now. They've got some huge financial decisions to make with Miles Turner, Aaron Nesmith, among others. We don't know what's going to happen with the Pacers. There's an opportunity here.
Oh, you forgot the Knicks. You're going to get everybody upset that you forgot the Knicks.
I'm waiting to see how the Knicks, how their coaching search shakes out and what exactly happens there. But look, the Knicks are well positioned to be a top 3 or 4 team in the East next season. But Orlando, to me, for the last 2 years, they have been one dynamic offensive player away from being a real problem in the conference. Like, their defense is legit. Like, they are a championship level defense. Boston beat them in the first round. But you ask people in Boston, and I have, like, Orlando beat them up.
Yeah.
Orlando was physical with the Celtics in that first round. They have big, sturdy, long, physical defenders. Banchero's a two-way player. Wendell Carter is a good defender. They're going to get Jalen Suggs back next year to add to that backcourt mix. They needed exactly what Desmond Bane provides. They thought they were going to get it from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, but it just didn't work for Caldwell-Pope down there. They didn't have a Jokic or a Murray for Caldwell-Pope to play off of. And when he doesn't have that type of guy, he's nowhere near as effective. When he's not camped out for corner threes, playing off double teams, he's not going to be as effective a player. So they didn't get that from Caldwell-Pope. I think they're going to get that from Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane is a lot of things. He's a shot creator. He's a three-point shooter. His age, what's he, 26, 27? He's going to fit the timeline of what that team is operating under right now. Like, this makes a ton of sense for the Memphis Grizzlies. Yes, they went deep into their well of assets to go and get him. The draft picks, however it plays out, that's still 4 first-round picks and a pick swap. That's real capital. Yeah. But what did Indiana give up? 3 first-rounders for Pascal Siakam?
Yep.
I don't think that the Pacers are complaining for 1 minute about giving up that much for a player like Siakam. The jury's certainly out on Mikal Bridges, but he had a pretty good postseason, and after a rough start, started to turn it around a little bit. I think the Magic are getting exactly what they need to make them a contender in the Eastern Conference. Jeff Weltman, his staff, they looked around the conference, saw what they needed, and they swung big. Could they have waited and tried to get somebody else? I don't know, like Kevin Durant or whomever, maybe. But this guy,
I'm not sure Kevin Durant.
If you don't watch enough Grizzlies games, this guy's pretty good.
Desmond Bane
this guy's a really good player.
Do you think so? I'm not sure that Kevin's. I mean, he's certainly not on the right timeline for them. And defensively, I just think Desmond's better. I mean, what do you think in terms of whether they should have waited for KD?
I don't know if they should have waited. I mean, look, I think it was certainly a guy that would have helped them in a lot of the same ways, right? An offensive player, but Desmond Bane, look, he's a two-way guy. He's going to be able to play multiple positions. The timeline makes a lot of sense. I love this deal in every possible way for Orlando. Does it guarantee them a championship? No. But if I'm making out my preseason rankings right now, I'm putting the Magic in my top 4 because I think their defense has made them worthy of it, and I think Bane's going to bump them up the offensive rankings a little bit more. Along the same lines, I think Memphis did pretty well here too, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, a lot of people looked at this deal and said, like, Memphis, they're dealing away Desmond Bane. It's the start of a rebuild. When I call people in Memphis, I'm told absolutely not. Ja Morant is not available. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not available. Like, these two guys are our cornerstones. We're going to keep building around these two guys. I think they just had an opportunity here. Like, Desmond Bane is a really good player, but Memphis is pretty well stocked at that position, right? Like, they've got Jalen Wells, who's a good young player. They've got G.G. Jackson Jr., who's an intriguing young player. I think Vince Williams, I like what I saw from him as a rookie, and I think with a bigger role, he can continue to develop into a pretty good guy. So they've got 75 cents on the dollar, I think, on the roster for Desmond Bane. You plug those guys in, and you add all that draft capital. Like, I think Zach Kleiman, the GM at Memphis, is looking at this draft capital, not as what to use during a rebuild, but what to use to go get somebody else, like to package another, player or two to add another third star opposite Ja Morant. So this is one of those rare trades where I think Orlando got exactly what it wanted, and I think Memphis, when this thing plays out, whatever they do with these draft picks, they're going to wind up getting what they wanted.
Yeah, I don't really understand everyone who thinks, Memphis is going to start to tear it all down. I don't think Memphis can tear it all down because Ja Morant, who is the crown jewel of the assets they have, is going to be way undervalued right now. Between what has happened to him injury-wise, what has happened to him discipline-wise in the past few years, you are not going to get his worth if you trade him, and they know that. Jaren Jackson Jr., by the way, you can't trade. This is a former Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, this is a guy that you need on your roster. I don't see this as a teardown. I see it as a little bit of a renovation, right? A little home improvement project. And I do think that Zach is going to look to maybe deal some of those picks. And this might be good for everyone. I don't mean good for everyone on both teams, because I totally agree with you, it is, but I mean good for everyone in Memphis. That I think it sort of resets the table a little bit for them. It gives them more financial flexibility, which they needed. It means that they can sign Jaren Jackson Jr. to that extension that he is due. I just think it sort of reshuffles things a little bit for the Grizzlies without it leading to a teardown. I don't see them doing a teardown at all, frankly, because I just don't think they're in position to do that right now.
No, and what I think the Grizzlies recognized was that they had kind of hit their ceiling with that group.
Yeah.
There were a lot of issues last season. Obviously, coaching Memphis believed was one of them. That's why Taylor Jenkins got fired. But they were an 8 seed that got swept in the first round. Ja Morant got hurt in the middle of the series, but they weren't going anywhere in the first round. They needed the play-in tournament just to get into the postseason. Like they had, I think Memphis thought they had plateaued, and I don't think they believe that just plugging in Jalen Wells and Vince Williams and Gigi Jackson, among others, into the minutes that Desmond Bane played is going to make them better. But I do believe that they have another card to play here, that they're going to be on the lookout for a piece that can complement Ja, a piece that can complement Jaren Jackson. You're right about the contract. I mean, I think they had the flexibility to give him that extension anyway, but this creates a little more flexibility.
It would have made things very tight. I mean, they're clearly, watching what's happening in these finals, and this model of, 2 stars, but a lot of depth is what has been winning in the NBA lately. And I think that's what they're trying to accumulate.
Yeah. And they have largely been very good at drafting late in the first round, in the second round, finding guys that can play. Yeah, and in today's NBA, if Ja can get back to being Ja, and he wasn't Ja last year. He wasn't the all-star, all-NBA guy that we had grown accustomed to seeing in his first few years in the NBA. Jaren Jackson certainly has a ceiling, I think, offensively, but he's still an elite defender who can...
Still, you need him if you're that team.
You need him. Like, he's, who can play mostly 4, a little bit of 5. Like, he's still a guy, I think, that can be a good number 2 on that team. They've just got to now identify who that number 3 is, right? Like, you're looking around, let's say Oklahoma City. Is it, Oklahoma City's got Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren as their 2 threes. Like, they've got, the Grizzlies got to find their 3 guy. And I think if they do, they can be right back there in the mix in the Western Conference. So I like this trade for both teams. One of those trades where I look at and I say, hey, I think both these teams won.
Yeah.
I think both these teams did well. So good deal by both front offices.